Hi, Natalie. Nice to see you.
Hi, Kat. Nice to see you.
How you doing?
Yeah, not bad. Are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm quite excited for this fair. I feel like I've been putting quite a lot of work in.
Yes, I. It's going to be the first one of its kind that I've ever done,
Yeah.
and I think I started out quite nervous, but now I'm really excited for it.
Yeah. I'm. I've never done an online fair before. Only like actual craft fairs, and the only ones I've ever seen have been like on Facebook, where people just go sold in the comments, and I don't really understand how it works. So it'll be interesting to see if this
Yeah,
one's like, if it works with having the ticket and all the booths and stuff. It should hopefully, yeah,
yes,
fingers crossed, be really successful, and then we'll do another one at Christmas.
yeah,
So let's get stuck in.
yes.
Obviously your shop is Honey Rhubarb, and you have your lovely not suitable for work embroidery, which I love, by the way. Love me a bit of cheeky
Thank
swearing.
you.
So tell me, how did you get into embroidery? How did you get started? Are you self-taught or did you have classes?
I actually, more than a couple of years ago, I did a costume and textiles degree at the University of Huddersfield. I
I'm
first came
from near
across embroidery
Huddersfield.
then. Ah,
Yeah.
um, but I first started embroidery when I did that course. Um, it primarily focused around traditional techniques being used in quite contemporary ways, and I learned a lot while I was there. I ended up putting it down for a couple of years. I didn't embroider for quite a few years after I graduated. Um, and then everything that I've since done after has been self-taught.
So it's just something that you started for the pleasure of it, and then
Yes, it started as a hobby, and this hobby suddenly just ended up everywhere, and I realised that it needed to expand further than my own front door.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's very similar to how I got started. I started making jewelry for me, and then all of a sudden I had way too much jewelry, so I had to start selling it to just get it out of the house.
Yeah. How did you initially get started in jewelry making? Was it a hobby? Well, as you said, it was a hobby, but what sort of drew you to jewelry making?
So I work in an independent shop in York, and we had what I didn't realise at the time was, I realise now with retrospect, looking back, it was someone a little bit like me who obviously had a day job, and they had a side hustle making jewelry, and we
Yes.
wholesaled their jewelry to sell at the shop. And I really like their jewelry, but you know, when you look at stuff and you think, oh well, if I made that, I'd do it like this, or if I'd do it in that colour. And after a while I thought, well, it's pretty harsh, isn't it, me sort of judging what they're doing. So I thought I should put my money where my mouth is and start making some
Yep.
bits and bobs. And then one Christmas my boss placed a big order, and the seller couldn't fulfill it, and so our jewelry cabinet was just empty. And he was like, what are we going to do, because no one will look at like a really crappy display, they'll just walk by it. And I was like, that's fine, I'll bring in a bunch of my jewelry, we'll stick it in the cabinet, you know, so people will go and look. Even if I don't sell a thing, I don't care, it will make the display look good, and whatever
Yeah.
I do sell, it's a bit pocket money. And I sold absolutely everything. I think I made a whopping
Fantastic.
£40. And with my £40 I bought myself a second pair of jewelry pliers, which means I was making jewelry with only one pair of pliers, and I genuinely don't know how I did it. It's impossible with only one pair of pliers, but apparently I did.
Yes.
And then when it had sold, I suddenly thought, well, actually I can sell this, so I just did.
Yeah.
But I think I'm lucky because I have a background in retail, it made me kind of more prepared for that side of making stuff.
Yes.
So how
That's
long have you been selling
fantastic.
on?
That's a great way.
Yeah, it was seems kind of natural now, and I think I probably wouldn't have the balls to do it now, but I did when I was younger. So how long have you been selling on Etsy, and did you start selling on Etsy, or did you sell elsewhere before you moved to Etsy?
I have actually only been on Etsy for just over a year. I previously to that, I didn't really sell my embroideries. They started as things that were gifted. or I'd ask people to make things so that they could gift to other people, and it was always oh, just buy me some flowers, or buy me a plant, I don't want paying for it. And it was when I started getting more and more requests, I thought, you know what, maybe I should really think about charging for my time. I think that's when it starts becoming a hobby, really, isn't it? Actually, a business. So I've done a couple of craft fairs in the past year, but again, I'm still relatively new to all of this. I haven't really been going that long. How long has Twopennylane been in existence?
Ooh, so I originally had another shop which still exists, but it's not active at the moment. So I started off making Fimo jewelry, polymer clay, and I had that shop, and then I started making the sort of more vintage inspired stuff, and I realized they were, although I'll wear both quite happily, a lot of my customers go for one or the other, so I split the shops. So I think I opened Twopennylane in 2011 on Etsy, and yeah, I've been on there since then. But when I opened Rhubarb bananas, I think that was more like 2008, 2009, and Etsy was a very different place then. You could only sell in dollars, which was a real pain with the exchange rate, because it meant every sort of month you'd have to check your prices were still like profitable for you in case the exchange rate had changed. Yeah, you couldn't copy listings either, so you had to list everything individually over and over again. And if something sold out, you only had the one of it. You couldn't have multiple, like a bigger quantity. So yeah, there's been a lot of changes in the time I've been on there. And there was no Team York back in the day either. In fact, most people didn't even know what Etsy was in the UK. So all my customers were overseas.
Yes, I must admit, I didn't know what Etsy was when I started. It was someone at a craft fair that actually recommended it to me, and I remember the first time I went onto Etsy, the website, and thinking, oh my god, what is this place that I've been missing out on? This is fantastic. Yeah, I feel like a kid in a sweet shop.
It's a problem, isn't it? You go on and you're like, oh yeah, I'll do some work this evening, and then 2 hours later you're like, oh, I've just browsed Etsy for 2 hours and spent 50 quid on stuff that I didn't know that I needed, but apparently I really need it. So when you were setting your
not do that this weekend.
Put it on your to-do list. When you set your Etsy shop up, how did you come up with the name for your shop then?
It was I spent quite a long time trying to figure out what I wanted to call myself, and I always knew I wanted to polar opposite things. I kind of, even though I didn't start out with the slightly swearier hoops, I always knew that there was probably going to be a chance that knowing what my personality is like, I was going to venture down a slightly different route at some point. So I knew I wanted 2 elements of polar opposites, and it's where's my tagline sort of came before my business name. So it was the sweet and the sweary part that I sort of thought, well, what's sweet and what's not? And it, for some reason, probably an epiphany in the middle of the night, I kind of woke up and I thought, that's it, I've got it. How about Twopennylane? Where did that name come from?
It's a really boring story. So my first shop was called Rhubarb Bananas, and I kind of wanted to find a name that was linked to that. And I was sort of, everything I wanted to call the shop was already taken. So originally I was thinking more along the lines of like penny farthing, and sort of trying for words around that. And then my boyfriend at the time, who was like the worst boyfriend I've ever had, he's the one that suggested Twopennylane, and I thought, yeah, actually I really like that, so I did it. But I was quite careful. Yeah, I just called it, like, I had it like a handle rather than calling it like Twopennylane jewelry, just in case I ever decided to move away from jewelry, because I'd never set out to open a jewelry shop. It was more a case of I was just selling what I made. So yeah, it was a terrible relationship, but I got the name for my business and I got the cat, so you know, I would do it all again.
Good things come from places we never expect. Yeah.
So do you sell full-time on Etsy, or is it a side hustle? Do you have a job?
It is a side hustle. I have a normal, not so normal day job. So when I'm not spending all of my time sat with the dog and sewing things, I'm a costume standby for filming and TV productions.
Wow.
So I am quite lucky. My job is still freelance.
Yeah.
But it's a hard job. My hours can be a little bit bonkers. I'm talking sort of 70, 80 hour weeks.
Wow.
Can be frequent. So for me, embroidery became my way of having something crafty to do, to sort of let off a little bit of steam at the end of a night when I'm in a hotel room because I've travelled for work and you've only got the rubbish TV channels and not much else to do. So it became something that I could sort of just chuck in a bag and sort of just set up my own little crafting space in a dingy hotel room.
Yeah. No, that's really cool that you can take it with you. It's something I regret sometimes that I can't with the jewellery. I mean, I do take it to fairs with me, like I've got a little bag and I'll sit behind the stall and make stuff.
Yes.
But because I've got like pots of jump rings and like chains, and it's invariably whatever you want to make, you don't have it with you. It's just not practical to take it with me, really. So yeah, you're very lucky.
Oh, thank you. Are you still at the same fantastic shop? Are you or are you sort of doing Twopennylane? Yeah.
So yeah, I work for a shop. I don't know if you know it. It's called Give the Dog a Bone, and it's like my boss calls it. Yeah. I'm the manager. So my boss calls it a quirky lifestyle shop, which means basically we just sell knickknacks.
Yeah.
And our strap line is 2 floors of things you don't need but really, really want, which sums it up pretty well. And then a couple of years ago, we opened up a second shop called The Shop That Must Not Be Named on the Shambles, and that sells exclusively Harry Potter merch.
Yes.
And I should say 2 years ago, it's 3 years ago, it's just been 3 years. So every time I sort of get itchy feet and think I might do something else, there's like a new challenge at work, something that I can do. So like whether it's like building the websites or setting up social media accounts, that kind of thing. So I'm still there and I love it. It's such a good place to work, and it's why I was really chuffed that I was paired with you for the Meet the Maker. God, I can't speak. Because as soon as I saw your stuff, I was like, yes, somebody who understands swear words. Because obviously we sell lots of very rude cards at work, and that's one of my jobs. I'm the buyer.
Yes, I've had some fantastic gifts from there.
Oh, good. That's really good to know.
And again, they've been a little bit ruder. So
yeah. My boss gets really upset sometimes because obviously we've got a very specific type of customer, and they want more and more extreme cards, and sometimes he's like, you can't sell that, and I'm like, well, people are buying it, so we're going to sell it.
I was like, the children see it will be fine.
So obviously you create your embroidery to sort of let off steam. Do you have a specifically favorite piece that you like to make? I love doing all of it, really. I'll go through phases where it sounds really boring. I love doing lettering, so I really love the process of doing all of the text. Mm-hmm. Because I start all of my designs as hand drawings, so they're all hand drawn to scale, and I then trace them through onto fabric through a light box. So I find something quite soothing in actually doing that. That sort of taking the font from the sort of drawing point to actually then stitching it up. And then I'll go through phases where I really like doing stuff like the little brooches, where it's the sort of the tiny, almost messy stitching in comparison that you can kind of be really free with, and it's like a tiny little handheld project that you can just sort of sit there in front of a TV and you don't really need to pay too much attention. Whereas the lettering is just so lovely and precise, and
you can, if you're anything like me, you can find something really lovely and be perfect with it. How about you? Have you got a favorite piece or a collection that you like to make?
I mean, I'm the same as you, really. It's kind of like I go through fits and starts with things, and I'm suddenly like, especially when I make new things, I'm kind of obsessed with the new thing, and I want to make that. But I don't. I keep on trying to work in collections, but I just get distracted by other stuff. So I just sort of make it randomly, and whatever I get obsessed with is currently what I'm doing. So it's. I think that's probably because it's still a side hustle and it's not a main income. I think I have the freedom to do that, and it can bring me a lot more pleasure. And it's something that, it's one of the reasons why I don't know if I would ever go full time just doing the jewelry, because I think then once it's my business, it's my main income, does it stop being as fun? Because, you know, there's like the onus, then you have to have a certain amount of sales. So at the moment I just have the freedom to sort of do whatever I want and get into, like, try a new technique or find something else ridiculous that I can turn into earrings. That's my main plan.
So do you ever work seasonally with your jewelry, or do you like to just completely go with the flow and see what happens and see what you like to make?
Yeah, I just go with the flow, really. And you know, I spend a lot of time sort of browsing like miniature shops and seeing like, oh, they make this really cool thing, how can I turn that into jewelry? The only kind of seasonal stuff I do is usually for Christmas. I'm really rubbish, and every year I do Christmas jewelry, so I do like tiny like fairy light earrings, and I've got like snow globe rings that have Christmas trees and snow in them. And I keep on, and I make them for the Etsy Christmas fair every year, and I always like post pictures on social media, and all my online customers like, I love those, I want to buy them, and I've never ever got around to putting them online because, you know, it's Christmas is such a busy time.
Oh no,
I'm too busy like at work and sort of with selling the stock that I already have to actually photograph the new stuff, so I just haven't done it. So I've had like those earrings for 3 years, and I've just never even put them on the website. So this year, I'm going to do it this year. I'm saying it in the video now, makes me accountable. Has anyone
I say the really organised sellers are putting the Christmas collections together now?
I know. I'm not one of those people. No, not at all.
No.
So has anyone ever told you off for having not suitable for work things on your embroidery?
They haven't, and I think I'm quite lucky in that aspect. As soon as I knew that I was going to be taking them to craft fairs, I have what I like to call the little naughty box swears. Yeah. So on all of my stands, I have an actual sort of like slightly higher sided wooden box with a little banner that I put on the front that the adults can look into, so they can actually see them. But because quite a lot of the fairs that I've done are quite child friendly, I sort of wanted to at least cover my bases, that I knew that I was sort of taking the appropriate steps to keep it family friendly. Online's a completely different matter. I've got a disclaimer on my website, and it's sort of like, whatever you want to do past that point, browse at your own peril. But I've had some really lovely responses from them, actually. I think people have been quite surprised to see them in embroidery, because embroidery itself is usually quite a traditional craft.
Yeah, I know. I think it's so cool. I love that dichotomy of like the sort of prettiness of it, and then when you actually read it, you're like, oh, I love it. Yeah, I really appreciate it. It definitely speaks to me.
Thank you. I sort of tend to get quite a lot of chuckles from the dads that have obviously been brought to the fairs.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Actually, I get a lot of chaps when the wives looking at my stall. Quite often I get a lot of and then guys being like, I wish I had my ears pierced, I love those, and they get a real kick out of the miniatures as well. But I suppose really I do sell some brooches. I suppose they're the only thing, you know, that a lot of men would wear. I mean, I have sold loads of stuff to men, and there are lots of guys who will happily wear it, but I definitely think it's more of a female customer for me. So what do you find is the best bit about making?
Do you ever take on custom pieces. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Both trying to get a question in.
No, I was
going
going
to say.
I was say just leading. I know. I was saying leading on from that. I was going to say, do you ever do custom pieces? So do you ever take on requests
I have to
from
admit,
customers?
not so much now. I'm just too busy, really. But when I first started out and I wasn't as busy, the best custom piece I probably did was a lady emailed me, and this is weirdly specific. Her daughter was turning 16, and for a 16th birthday present, she wanted me to make her an Anne Boleyn themed charm bracelet. And she actually sent me a picture of another jeweler's bracelet and said, I want you to make this for my daughter. And I was like, oh, I don't want to just copy somebody else's work and make it for her, because she should just ask that person to make them the bracelet if that's what she wants. It's really harsh. So I said to her, well, I can't do that. I can't make the exact bracelet for you. So I made up a Pinterest board and I saw all these different bits and bobs and made her this bracelet. And it was quite stressful because she was one of those people that clearly she was happy to spend whatever it cost on it, but I didn't know that because I was still new to doing custom orders. And so she asked for it to be silver rather than silver plated, and all this kind of stuff. And then I made this bracelet for her, and I feel like I had a head start because my mum was a history teacher. So I knew, I was like, I'm going to get all these really cool pictures of Anne Boleyn, and I did this bracelet for her and then sent it to her. And then she texted me after her daughter's birthday and said that her daughter had cried when she unwrapped it. So that was really lovely. But I have to admit, nowadays I tend to say no, because I'd rather say no than say yes to people and then not be able to fulfill it. That would make me feel awful. So I'd rather just say no. But yeah, it is fun when you have the time to do something like that, I think. What do you find is the best bit about sort of making and selling?
I've always been very, very pleasantly surprised by people's reactions to things, and the ability that you sort of have when you're making things that you can actually make other people laugh, or you can make them smile, and you sort of sit there with a sort of proud moment going, that came out of my head and now somebody's really happy with it, or it's in somebody's home, and it's sort of you kind of get the nice warm fuzzy feeling, which for me, I would always want to aim to make things to make other people happy, because if I'm happy while I'm actually making them, I want to share that. I want to make sure that anybody that sort of takes one of them home thinks, I'm so.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think that's the best part of it. It's, you had fun making it and it brought you joy, and then to see someone else's reaction to it, you just think, yeah, I get you. You've got the same sense of humor as me, or that kind of thing. It is a nice little connection. I have to admit, I think I've gone through all my main questions now. I only have my silly quick fire ones. How about you? Is there anything else you want to ask me before we get into the stupid question?
I've got another one, and this is another one that you're going to hold yourself accountable for. Yeah. Have you got any plans of what you're going to do next? And does that mean that you are going to be planning new items, planning new collections, getting your Christmas stock online? What's in the future?
So I actually started working on something recently and then I stopped, and I'm going to see, oops, I've knocked my camera. It's because it's in a drawer. Don't know if I can get them out without destroying the camera. So I had a really great idea, which is I have a few vintage style pieces which are flowers, and I realised when I was listing them online that obviously every month has a birth flower. So I know I'm born in August and I'm pretty sure my birth flower is poppy. So I suddenly thought, I could have tiny little flower pots on necklaces with the flowers inside. And then I can have them, I can do 12, one for each birth month. And then I had an even better idea. So my packaging Oops. My packaging's now on the floor. My packaging is meant to look like little boxes that are like parcels to be sent in the post.
Oh, yeah.
And then I had a really great idea, which was I could make the packaging for the flower necklaces be like seed packets, like vintage seed packets. So I have the tiny little flowers
that's
here.
really sweet.
And I do have the flower pots in the drawer, but I can't get them out. And that is something that I started doing, but I started designing all the packaging, and then when you have to do like 12 lots of packaging in one go and it's all graphic design, it kind of killed me.
Yes.
So I stopped. But I really should do that, because I've had the bits in a drawer and I just need to make them up. So that's my plan, and I've said it now again, so I'll have to do it.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's do the quick fire questions. I wanted to have some fun questions.
Yes.
So my first question for you is tea or coffee, and what biscuits to go with it?
Oh, tea, absolutely tea. Always, well, I say the staples, Yorkshire tea.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking 6 to 8 cups a day.
Oh, wow.
I'm a highly caffeinated woman.
You have to be if you're working 70-hour weeks.
Yes, I'm well known for carrying a travel mug at work with me, and it's always got to be full.
Do you have a pet?
And as far as biscuits goes, I do. I have a lovely dog.
Yeah.
She's a 1-year-old Cavapoo. And she has completely transformed me from a cat person to a dog person.
Ooh.
Yes. Okay.
Go on. You give me a quick fire question.
If you could teleport anywhere in the world at all, where would you want to go?
I really thought about this for a while, and I think I'd probably go to Angkor Wat in Cambodia. I used to be an archaeologist, and it's somewhere I'd really like to go. I've done Egypt, so that kind of crossed that off the list. I think it would be a tie between there and the Great Wall of China, maybe. Not sure, but yeah, that's where I'd go.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, and I've got another one for you. What food could you never live without? If you were told you could never eat it again, what food?
I think it would probably be Reese's peanut butter cups. I really love them, and I would be sad to never be able to have them ever again. Yeah, I think that's probably right.
Yeah,
they are really good.
I mean, they're pretty amazing.
If you could only wear one colour for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Again, I had to think about this for quite a while, and I found a loophole. I'm going to go blue.
Yeah.
Because you never said how many shades I could wear in that colour. So I will wear as many shades of blue as possible.
Yeah.
And be happy.
It's I kind of imagine like being dressed head to toe in one colour could get boring very quickly.
Yes.
And I think my final quick fire question I'm going to ask you is, if you had a time machine, when would you go?
I very boringly, I would probably, if it's a one-time thing, where would I go? There's so many times, I'm such a history geek, there's so many times that I want to go back to. I would have to say I would either be really fascinated to go back and see Elizabeth I's court, English court, or I would be really interested to see the 1880s America. See see how things were progressing there. I know England was fine, but I'd be really curious to see what the States were like at that point.
Yeah, see if it actually lived up to
Yeah.
all the history books that have been written. Yeah, that would be
Yes.
really cool.
Yeah. My final one for you is, if given a choice, which one of your jewelry pieces would you want to always wear, never take off?
So it's one that I don't actually sell because I made it and I absolutely love it, but I think it's a bit too weird for most people. And so I have it here next to me. I don't have it on right now because I'm wearing a dress, and it kind of goes down into my cleavage, which I thought might not be appropriate for this. But it's a tiny little bucket necklace, and it has a little drop underneath
Oh,
it,
that's
and so it's
beautiful.
my hole in a bucket necklace. And it's really weird when I wear it.
Yeah,
People
that's
stop me
really
and are like, "Where did
lovely.
you get that from?" But I've literally only ever sold one, and so I stopped making it to sell. I just
Yeah,
thought, well, it will be mine, and I will be one of only 2 people who have it. So that is
yeah,
it.
which is lovely.
Yeah, I suppose I started making jewelry because I like to be a little bit different, so keep it like that. Super.
Yeah,
Well, it's been lovely chatting to you,
brilliant.
and it's really nice to get to know you, and I'm
Yes.
really excited that you've joined the fair, because the online fair has given it, like, a lot of different sellers have joined in the online fair that then normally do the
Yes.
Etsy Made Local at Christmas. So it's nice that loads of them have participated, and I'm hoping that means that next time we're actually allowed a real craft fair,
Yes.
some of you guys will come and join in that as well, because yeah, I
Yeah.
love meeting all the talented
It's
people in the
lovely
team.
seeing that there's a range of sellers.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's lovely seeing that there's a range of things that people are offering as well.
yeah,
And I think for me, feeling like I was quite a small seller is sort of one of those things. It's like, well, I'll apply. I don't know whether or not I'll get anywhere with it. So it's been really lovely to actually get involved and meet everyone,
yeah, yeah.
and find out what's happening in York as well. See, meet all the lovely makers that are actually where we live.
Yeah,
We're quite lucky that there's so many talented people around us.
yeah, yeah. It's I didn't start the team, but I'm really glad it was started. I've loved meeting
Yeah,
everyone, and I've got tons of friends now that I would never have met if I hadn't joined the team. So
yeah,
yeah, it's really good fun. Well, I think that wraps us up. So let's say
yes.
goodbye. Bye.
Bye.